Well, kids, it's that time again. Welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, right here in the Rock Rage Radio Network, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. I have a new friend here, Mr. Steve Scott. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, Sean. How are you, my friend?
You know what? I'm doing well, and it took us a little while to get this going, but here we are, and persistence is a virtue, I guess.
Absolutely. Always.
Absolutely. So, I always like to ask when we start, when I meet new folks, you currently reside where?
We're in Vegas.
Love it. Got a lot of friends down there. Unfortunately, I heard Vamped is packing it in.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really spend much time there, to be honest with you.
Oh, is that right? Well, hey,
Yeah.
um, I saw it. I've never been. I've actually never been to Vegas, if you can believe that.
Wow.
But I hear it's a great spot for music. It's a great spot for everything.
I don't know about a great spot for music, but it's definitely the adult Disneyland for sure.
Right on. So tell us a
Uh-huh.
little bit about your band. We've been trying to get this going here for a couple weeks. Tell us about you guys and what you're up to.
We're a Christian rock band, ultimately. So we try to tell people that, we rock like everybody else, So if you're not really into the Christian thing and you don't really pay attention to the fact that we're a Christian band, we rock like everybody else. So we put this band together back in like 2018, and we started recording around the COVID time.
Yep.
And we were very fortunate. It was a calling for me, Sean. I believe that God had reached out to me and told me that this is my purpose in life.
Yep. Yep.
And so started writing some Christian rock music, went in, recorded, and by the grace of God, our first single from our first EP, "On the Way to the Promised Land," took off immediately, and we were on a roll from there.
So I know that word a little bit. I have a brother who's actually a Pentecostal minister. He's well into that stuff. Um,
Nice.
I grew up being a massive Striper fan. I like Petra. I love stuff like that. I wouldn't call
Beautiful.
myself, heavily steeped in it, but I respect the message. I respect the musicianship. I respect everything that those guys are about. Talk to me a little bit because I haven't had the opportunity to interview that many people in, I guess, that segment of the music world. And some people will go, oh well, there's no way you could be a Christian band and be a rock band. There's that cheesy kind of thing that people throw out there. You would say what to them?
I would say that again, we rock like everybody else. So it's just our form of expression. It's the way we do it. I believe that this is the reason why God had chosen me to do
Right.
this project, because of the fact that I can reach people that maybe other bands possibly cannot. So there's the mainstream world of Christian is called contemporary Christian. And although there's some great stuff, Sean, and a lot of great bands, I call it watered down rock.
Uh-huh.
Because it's that you really don't hear any guitars. There's never a guitar solo. I mean, there's nothing heavy about it. It's very mellow kind of stuff, real poppy. Not to say that it's not great rock, and not to say that I don't listen to it as
Sure.
well. Excuse me, because in the morning, I get up and turn the radio on, the regular radio, and I'll turn on. We've got like SOS radio, and Air One are two really big Christian contemporary stations. So I'll put that on, and then I'm in my office, and then I've got my speakers in my office, and I'll put the other stuff on. The stuff that I'm more into, the more heavier rock. So it's just an expression. It's like everything else. We've all got our ways of doing things. Hard rock has always been my love, ever since I was like a little kid, man. So to me, I couldn't see doing it any other way.
Has that world, I guess, softened from this? Because I remember years ago, I had some friends that had a Christian rock band, and they all went to like a Baptist church. And the churchgoers were like, "Oh, you guys are a rock band. You're kind of teetering on that whole, oh, satanic," and not even close. I mean, not even close. Um, has that world softened at all, or is there still a little bit of judgmental sort of mindset that goes on in certain subsets of your audience?
I think it'll always be that way. There'll
Yep.
always be some judgmental stuff going on. So we have this new track out, 37 Miracles, and we believe it's a really strong track. And so, we promoted it. We have a major management now and stuff too. So, we're promoting the songs and everything. And I got to tell you, man, the response isn't as good as I expected it to be.
Okay.
You know, we're what you call a Christian crossover band. So, in other words, I would have to say, Sean, that the majority of radio play that we get is probably actually non-Christian.
Okay.
Um, and in the indie world, which is a beautiful thing because those are the people who we really need to reach with our messages.
Yep.
Because there are some people out there that are going through a lot of hard times and they don't know what to do, man. I mean, they're just like, well, what do I do? I'm at my wit's end. I mean, I've tried everything and nothing's working. So I always say, this is an option for you. You know, excuse me. I say the definition of insanity, right? You're just doing the same things over and over again. So
Yep.
open up your mind and try a couple different things. And I believe that maybe Christian rock is a baby step for you. Maybe you turn on some music and you go like, oh wow, these guys rock, man. I like this. And maybe you want to know a little bit more about it. And again, we're not trying to convert people, so to speak. I mean, that's up to you. Our music is always giving you a positive message, and you can take it and run with it if you want to. Otherwise, maybe you just dig the music and you just hear the sound and you go like, "Hey, man, this is good music."
I think you hit something there because I remember, coming up and I mean, and where you fall on a band like Striper. I mean, I was obsessed with that band. Robert Sweet, I'm a drummer, one of my biggest drumming influences. And I never want to teeter over to the church thing or whatever. But I mean, I did get the message. I get the positive. I mean, it's really hard to hear that type of music and feel bad or feel terrible about yourself. I mean, it's just uplifting, it's positive, right? But there is a danger, I think, with some people that they feel if they listen to that, oh my God, they're gonna have to start going to, and it's this weird thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I always like to say too that if you're a hard rocker, man, you're into metal and stuff like that, you're doing yourself an injustice by not checking out some of the really great Christian hard rock bands out there, man. I mean, there's some great music out there, man. If you listen to some of those stations, I mean, there's even hardcore
Yeah.
Christian stuff too. That's you got the you know you have that in the Christian rock too, and a lot of people would say, oh man, that's devil stuff, but no,
Yeah.
it's their expression, it's their way of spreading the word. It's what they're into. And it's like it makes up a world, you know. If we all did the same thing and we were all the same, then it would be a boring world, right?
Well, and I think you get in these minds. Like I grew up Catholic, right? And so the whole thing with the Catholic is, oh, you know what? You can do whatever you want. You just go to confession and all's good again, and I start right back from scratch. And that was kind of, on a mantra. But there was a sort of thing where if you went outside and played music, you weren't doing the choir thing. You weren't doing that, and the ladies that used to bake at the church socials and stuff would look down their noses at you. You know where I'm going with that, right? And so I still
Sure.
think there's that. Maybe there's a little of that mindset where they think, okay, well, if you get into rock, you're not really obeying the word. You're kind of
Yes.
right.
Yeah. And I go to Bible study, at times too, Sean, and sometimes, we'll go down a little rabbit hole and then someone will say something like, oh, you shouldn't listen. Some of my favorite bands, man. I mean, I grew up with Sabbath and Priest. I
Yep.
mean, excuse me, Michael Schenker. I mean, those are some of my favorite bands, man. And people would say like, "Oh man, you got to really be careful about the stuff that you listen to." I also love horror movies, man.
Yep.
Excuse me, I mean, I watch probably way too much horror and stuff like
Yep.
that. And there's people who go, "Look, oh man, well, you're opening up the door, to all the devil and all these bad things." And maybe to some degree that could possibly be a little something because it's maybe your mindset, maybe like you're going to sleep, right? And you just watch some sick movie, so maybe you're gonna have sick dreams,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's possible, but I don't know how it's gonna relate to you in like real life and stuff like
Sure.
that when you wake up. I don't think you're gonna wake up in the morning thinking like, I think I'm gonna go kill 10 people, you know? It's
Well,
you know,
any rational human being can separate that stuff, entertainment, from real life, right? I hate to do this, but I do it because when I'm introducing a new band to my audience, I play the comparable game, right? So it's like, okay, if they haven't heard of the band, I say, who would you compare yourself to? And I don't like to do it to say, who are you like, but it's just, oh, I like that band. I'm going to go grab their music. Who would you compare what you do to?
it's kind of a hard to compare us exactly with other bands, but you mentioned like Striper, so if you want to get on the Christian side, Striper, there's a band called Disciple,
Yep.
great band. Love those guys. Ashes Remain is another one. There's a band called Red. That's a great band as well. So that on the Christian side, and then on the non-Christian side, I mean, like some of my favorite bands, man. I love Shinedown. I am a big 3 Days Grace
Uh,
fan. Disturbed. Scott Stapp from Creed and the Creed stuff. Um, those are some of the favorite bands I listen to. I like Seether, bands along those kind of lines. Five Finger Death Punch, who's actually from Vegas
yep.
as well.
Yep. So I mean, you're talking the 2000s ish, early 2000s to mid 2000 kind of. What did they used to call it? It wasn't emo, it wasn't grindcore. It was they had a term for it, but I get where you're going with that. Um, where are you guys able to take this when you play? Do you play traditional rooms? Do you have to kind of find some extra like where do you guys typically are you able to take your band to play?
Like I said, we're a crossover band, so we're able to. People do accept us
Yep.
in all kinds of places, and depending on where you play, it's you kind of tailor your performance to the room that you're in.
Right.
So if we're playing with some really heavy metal, hard rock bands and stuff like that, you know, you're not really going to preach.
Yep. Yep.
While you're doing your stuff, you're not going to say like, ladies and gentlemen, hey, I just want to take a moment to, just thank Christ, and can you feel the Holy Spirit in this room, guys? I mean, you're going to get crickets, or people going to be like, why are you doing? Because, and like you said, there are people that they're very close-minded.
Yep.
So if you're going to try to mention Christian stuff, they may be like, like, oh no, man, that's not for me.
Well, so and I've asked a few people this question because, like I say, I travel in circles where, I like to say that I'm kind of in the center of not good and bad, but I mean, I have some good friends that are Christians and go to church, and I have some other friends that, you know, not so much, and I'm kind of in the middle, right? Um, why do you think it is that there is no kind of center with this thing, right? Like it's like sometimes it's either if you're a Christian, some people think you got to be way over here, and if you're not, you got to be way, and you can't just meet in the middle and hang out and kind of respect each other's opinions on music, on life. What do you think that is?
Hmm. It's a really good question. It all depends on the people.
Yeah,
Like I said, when you're hanging out with the Christian people, they don't really. It's funny because I'm in this group, and they want to help promote our music. They want the other Christians to be fans and followers and all this kind of stuff. And there's a group that we kind of hang out a lot with, a decent amount. And it's kind of like I don't really feel supported by them, to be honest with you,
yeah, fair
because
statement.
because they're not metal people.
Yeah,
So it's really hard, when you have people like when you're with around people or something like that, and they say, "Hey, man, I want to hear your music." And if let's say they're an older crowd and stuff like that, and their thing is Celine Dion and Lionel Richie kind of thing, man. I mean, it's like you don't really want to waste your time and play your music for them because they can't really appreciate that kind of music. You're going to put that on, they're going to go, oh, wow, that's really loud or something. So it's kind of like, so you got to tailor your audience to the people that are going to appreciate the music, I find. So, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think that if you're not into religion, that they think that they can't listen to that kind of stuff because they're not open to it. See, that's the key, I think, is just being open to things and stuff. Then you can accept and you're open, you have a willingness to be okay, well, I'll check this out. Let me see what it's like.
Um, and that's a great answer because I'll tell you why. You described me probably when I was in junior high when my guitar player, who's still my guitar player to this day, said, "You got to hear Striper." Nope, they're church. Nope, I'm not listening to them, and I wouldn't. And then I finally did. I think they're on a Canadian TV show, and I saw Robert Sweet, and I'm going like, "Oh my God, what's going?" And then I closetly listened to them, and I wouldn't admit it. And then when I finally did, I got obsessed. But um, with them, it was the musicianship, it was the vocals, it was the playing, it was to this day I always say I'm not a drummer, I'm a visual timekeeper because that's what Robert Sweet used to do, right? And then it was like, okay, you know what, the message isn't so bad, but it's kind of like I put myself in that like knucklehead phase where I didn't want to play with a girl singer because I only listened to guys like immaturity and ridiculous
Yes.
things, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah,
that. I get what you're saying with that, and it's frustrating because sometimes on back to the center, people over here, you got to be like this, people over here, and you can't just meet in the middle and kind of help each other with all that stuff.
and then I was telling you too about like some of the Christian people that we're a group and we get together and stuff sometimes. It's like, I kind of just put it aside and just like, okay, whatever kind of thing. But I also kind of think to myself, like, hey man, we're all Christian. We're brothers and we're sisters. So it's kind of like we should be supporting each other and stuff. So I got to be honest with you, man. Sometimes I feel that it's not that way with some of the people.
Novel idea, right? To support each other. I mean, it's just this thing where I go through it with. I mean, I've got on any given day, I've got 25 to 30,000 people that are on my socials, and it's one of these things where, hey, if you support somebody, it's a sign of weakness. Like you're not going to have success yourself. It's the craziest thing that people get in their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of, man? It's like I remember back in the day, you'd go see bands play live, right? And it's like all the hard rock musicians, they had the pose. It was like
Yeah, they
this.
still they still do.
They were like this, and they were stone faced, and you can't rock, you can't look like you're getting into it. You just got that stone faced thing, and they just kind of looked at you and stared, and maybe they'll clap, maybe they won't. It's just it's still kind of that mentality in a way.
It is. It's and again, the fact that you can't cheer somebody on for fear that your ship's not gonna elevate is just craziness. But look, it was great. I want to stay in touch with you because I heard what you guys are doing. I think it's very cool. And you guys
Perfect.
have some background too, right? Like you're not newbies that just kind of floated into this thing. Just talk about your pedigree just quickly.
So this is our third EP that's coming out now. It's called 37 Miracles, which is the title track. So Sean, we got 5 songs recorded at the moment that's on the EP, and it might be a sixth one.
Yep.
So the previous record before this was called Rock and Roll Preaching. And we had this beautiful ballad on there called How Will I Know? And basically, it was about a single guy wondering when God is going to send him his Eve. It's a really beautiful song, man. It's just acoustic guitar, and I brought a cellist in and vocals.
Nice.
And so what we might wind up doing is before the actual CD gets released, I was thinking of going back in the studio, bringing more of a full string section in there, maybe bringing a viola player and a violin, and then Carlos, our new vocalist, who is a great rock vocalist, man, having his vocals on there too. And I think that might change the way the song is interpreted a little bit as well.
Awesome. Last question, my friend. Where do I send my peeps to find you guys and get your music and follow you?
We're everywhere. We're on all the socials. You can find our music, of course, on Spotify and Deezer and Apple and Amazon and Pandora and all those kind of places. Um, Also, we just, if you're not aware, there's this new contest out. It's called America's Next Top Hitmaker,
Yep.
and it's sponsored through Rolling Stone. And so we actually entered in it last year, and we finished seventh,
Wow.
which
Nice.
which isn't bad because a lot of these song contests, you've got to pay to enter.
Yep.
right? So this is free. So you can imagine the amount of people that they must have, the amount of bands that must apply for this. So we finished seventh last year, which is pretty cool. So we're back in it again. So if you guys are on a website or whatever and you see America's Next Top Hitmaker too, we wouldn't mind being America's Next Top Hitmaker. So, feel free to, to throw a vote in there. Please subscribe, please follow, please comment. We've got a lot of songs um, that are out besides this, and also if you're not familiar, Danny Miranda, who's been in Queen and Blue Oyster Cult, has played bass on this new record and the previous record before this as well.
Got some heavy hitters, my friend. It was great to finally meet you, get this done. I want to say thank you very much, and all the best. Hard to believe summer's coming up. It's that time of year, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it, man. God
We're,
bless, my friend.
we're back after this.